life. They give everybody a trophy. That's what they did tonight. They gave a trophy, a win, a huge win, to Horn, the local kid, for trying hard. You're not supposed to get it for trying hard. You're supposed to get it for winning.
Alright, remember to hit that subscribe button. For all the newcomers to the channel, thank you so much. Honestly, I really do appreciate it. I mean that, by the way, no joke. I said it the other day and someone thought I was actually joking. I wasn't. I very much do mean it. There are numerous boxing channels out there. People putting out some good content, some people putting out shit content. But regardless, so for a few hundred people to watch my videos now and again, much appreciated. Alright, so I done a Billy Joe Saunders video yesterday night, right? And I was talking about him in his preparation for his fight against Willie Monroe Jr. Is he serious? Is he not serious? And I did mention that most of the British public might not have Billy Joe Saunders in their top 10 British pound for pound rankings. Not because he's not a good boxer, but obviously there's a lot more that goes into thinking who deserves to be in the top 10 pound for pound. It's not that easy. Sorry, I've just ate. And I just had a sneaky JD and Coke. So it got me thinking, who is my top 10 pound for pound? It wasn't easy. There are a few world champions in Britain right now. There are a few guys that are big names. There are a few guys that are larger than life characters. You almost have to kind of forget that, put that to the back of your mind sometimes and really sit down and think of top 10 pound for pound. I quickly knocked mine out in 20 minutes. That sounds dirty. Don't think about it. And please, by all means, get yours in. I think a lot of people would have the same 6 or 7, and then I think from 7 to 10, it might change for a few people. So very quickly, off the bat, notable absentees that you're not going to find on my list. Tony Bellew's not on my list. Very close. He's probably in and around 12, 13. Very close, not in. I don't know how big wins are against David Haye, but minus the fact that David Haye was injured in that fight. Let's be honest, David Haye hasn't been David Haye for about 4 or 5 years, I think since Derek Chisora. Don't know how long ago that was. That seemed like ages ago, that fight at Upton Park. So that's David Haye. And his other big win was against Lungu Makabu. I cover African boxing. I know how good Makabu is, how good he really isn't. And so I can't give those wins too much credit. So that's why he's not in there for me. What, do you want to count the Nathan Cleverly as a big win at cruiserweight? Come on now, behave. Chris Eubank Jr. is not in there. He's close, again, close. But there's not really, I mean, he's almost cleaned up the Brit division, right? He's almost cleaned up all the fringe level Brits. The likes of Nick Blackwell, Gary Spike, a few others, Doran, I think Doran, lost to Billy Joe Saunders. And his big win right now is probably Arthur Abraham, or way past Arthur Abraham. So yes, he's the IBO, very small IBO title, super middleweight, but I think he is in around the top 15, not in it. Callum Smith, again, just hasn't got that big win under his belt. Would have had it if he fought Anthony Durrell, but obviously now he's entered the WBSS, World Boxing Super Series, WBSS. We aren't going to see an Anthony Durrell fight. We will probably get to see him against Groves or Eubank, but for now, again, not a big win, so he's not in that list. Dylan White's not in the list because just talks. Hasn't delivered. Lost to Chisora for me, lost to Joshua, but for some reason, talks a lot. Nothing wrong with that. Tyson Fury's obviously not on the list because we don't know what he's doing. He's retired, he's suspended. Not quite sure what's going on with him. Hughie Fury fights for a world title in what, a month's time. He's not on the list again. Hasn't done much. Yes, he's fighting for a world title, but look at his kind of back catalogue. There's nothing really there. And it's not necessarily that there's nothing there. Even for all those guys I've just mentioned, the 4 or 5 guys that are not in the list, it's a case of the other 10, I think, just being a bit better. And that's really all it is. Martin Murray's not in the list. Who else? Oh no. Amir Khan, the big one. Amir Khan's not in the list as well for me, guys. It's difficult, but I guess with Amir Khan, it really just comes down to inactivity. And the last time we saw him in the ring, he was flat out on his back. Yes, it was to Canelo, but regardless, it's difficult when you see someone knocked out like the way he got knocked out. And his performance against Algieri wasn't great. The last time Amir Khan looked good was against Collazo and Devin Alexandrian. I think those performances was about 3 years ago. So again, just not doing well at the moment. And it's strange not to have Amir Khan in there, but unfortunately Amir Khan's not in there. So they're the ones that are not in there. Let's talk about who is in there. My first name on the list, I was struggling between these two guys, 9 and 10, 9 and 10. I'm not quite sure why this guy's at 10 and he's not at 9, but I'm going to put him at 10 anyway because I feel like I'm still waiting for that really good performance from him. He's been consistent, he's got the job done, but in terms of performance, we haven't quite yet seen it. And that man's Terry Flanagan. It's difficult not to have Flanagan in there. When you think of Flanagan, you're thinking of a guy that's fought 33 times and won 33 times. A guy that's retained his WBO lightweight title, was it 5 or 6 times? He probably suffers from the fact that he's been fighting under the Box Nation banner. I think they've all grown and they are growing now with their link up with BT Sports, but let's be honest, not a lot of people know who he is in comparison to someone like Anthony Crolla, for example. Anthony Crolla was a world champion, but you can understand what I'm saying. People know Crolla, people maybe don't know Flanagan as much. He's had decent wins against the likes of Orlando Cruz, Derry Matthews, Magdaleno was the big one. Magdaleno came with a big KO record. He smoked him in 2 rounds. He was supposed to take on Verdeo. He pulled out injured. That would be a big fight for him. But in terms of being recognised in the world, I mean, a lot of people have him as the 3rd best lightweight in the world. So that's how highly people have him. So he is number 10 on my list. Number 9 on my list, again, you can switch it around however you like, but number 9 on my list for now is Kal Yafai. Kal Yafai, who is the current WBA super flyweight champion. I like Kal Yafai. Not just for his performances in becoming champion when he beat Luis Concepcion and then he retained it against Muranaka. It's even leading up to that. I think he looks really good. I think he fights well. He's strong. He was an Olympian, so he's got a good amateur pedigree as well. He's got a very, 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 very tough fight coming up against Sho Ishida, another unbeaten fighter. So we're going to really prove him if he is that good in the next sort of few months. But I think he is. And I think Kal Yafai will prove to be not just a very, very good British fighter, but a very, very good world fighter in the next 2 or 3 years. Number 8, it is strange this guy being number 8 when, I don't know, 9 months ago he's probably number 4 or 5. So he dropped a few places, and understandably why Kell Brook. People might say, why is Kell Brook on there and why names like Bellew, Chisora, I don't know, Eubank, even Anthony Crolla not there? Because Kell Brook's fighting beasts, that's why he's there. For me, there's absolutely no shame whatsoever in getting beat by Errol Spence in a good fight. A fight that I think he was very competitive up until round 9 when I just think the gas tank ran empty. And for him being, I think, the sole reason why Gennady Golovkin is probably no longer considered the boogeyman he was. Yes, he got beat in that fight. He jumped up 2 weight classes to fight a guy that not many people wanted to fight. I think people forget that. Before Kell Brook fought GGG, not many boxers were talking GGG. Watch the interviews. Watch Cotto's interview. Watch Canelo's interview. Canelo literally threw a belt away. Danny Jacobs was like, I need a couple more fights. Chris Eubank ran away with a pen. Kell Brook stepped up before him. Yes, he lost, but he showed holes against Golovkin that other fighters now are starting to use. Kell Brook almost showed that, and it's unlucky. And I think that's the fight, and that's the reason. The punishment in that fight, and going up to 160 is probably the reason he struggled against Errol Spence. Can he do something against other 154 fighters? I'm not sure. That could be the end for Kell Brook, but regardless, Kell Brook's my number 8 right now. Number 7, Billy Joe Saunders. Could be lower. Kell Brook could be higher than him. Yafai could even be higher than him. Terry Flanagan could be higher than him. So it was very difficult in putting Billy Joe Saunders for me this high. But regardless, he's unbeaten. He's unbeaten. He's a world champion. He's not really had big markings. The Andy Lee performance was great, but I think people maybe overhyped the Andy Lee performance a bit. Andy Lee wasn't a killer. Andy Lee wasn't coming as this world beat. Andy Lee had lost a few times prior to that fight, and but he beat him, and he beat him very, very well. Fantastic amateur career. Beat Chris Eubank in a really, really good grudge match. Looked fantastic for the first 6 rounds. Seemed to fade after that, but hanged on. Good fight against Willie Monroe coming out. But what I like more about Billy Joe Saunders, we're starting to see Billy Joe Saunders come out of that shell. I've been to interviews. I've conducted interviews with Billy Joe Saunders, and every time I've mentioned GGG, he's clearly said, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. I mean, he's the boogeyman. He's openly admitted it. Now he's begging for those fights. Now I think he finally realizes how good he is. And now he wants Canelo, wants GGG. You might be surprised if he fights both of those. Well, am I saying he beats them? No. But I think he might put on a performance that might shock a few people. My number 6 is a guy that I think just keeps on surprising. I remember watching this guy, and I think I was there. I was live at the event because I'm close-ish with Ian Napper, and I've always loved Ian Napper. And I remember watching Ian Napper versus Jamie McDonald at York Hall Bethel Ring. Sorry, no, it was Brentwood Centre. Yeah, was it Brentwood Centre? Brentwood Centre Wrestling. Ian Napper won that fight. I've said it to him this day. We've laughed and joked about it in the pub when I've seen him. He won that fight. And I thought, this kind of skinny, awkward, lanky kid, Jamie McDonald, just isn't good enough. Just simply isn't good enough. Gets caught too much, can't throw his combinations well, doesn't look like he's got any pop, any power. Little did I know about boxing. I mean, he has gone on to win fight after fight after fight after fight, and I think his stand-up performances have come against Kameda. I think Kameda was almost hyped a bit, that Kameda can do this, Kameda can do that, and he beat him twice. Very, very close fights, but he beat him twice. And that was fantastic performances. I'm gonna kind of pretend I didn't see the solid performance, the last fight. I think he lost that maybe. But regardless, I think Jamie McDonald is living proof of if you work hard, you can improve. There's so much talk about natural talent. Jamie McDonald doesn't have natural talent. This is a guy that literally has just grinded, and now he's a world champion, albeit a regular one. He is a world champion, but let's not forget as well, he did hold the IBF bantamweight title as well. Number 5, a man that everyone for some reason hated for a while. It's weird because, okay, no, let's start this straight. Everyone loved him when almost it felt like he was getting bullied by James DeGale. Do you remember that? Everyone kind of loved him. It was like, oh, I hope he beats James DeGale, which he did. And everyone seemed to hate him when he seemed to antagonise the British favourite Carl Froch. I respect what he did, and I loved what he did. And for me, he gave me one of the best. I remember Carl Froch versus George Groves, the first one. I remember literally nearly spitting out my JD and Coke, and I love JD and Coke, so for me to spit that shit out, you know it must be a big deal. When he put Carl Froch down, I was like, oh my effing god. It was one of those moments in boxing where I will always remember where I was and what happened. Look, this is a guy that's only lost twice. Twice to Carl Froch. Sorry, only lost to 2 people, sorry. Carl Froch twice, one of them very controversial, we know that, and Badou Jack in a split decision. He is a very good boxer. He, to this day for me, has the best jab in British boxing. I've said it before, go and watch his jab. He snaps it out so quick. Watch the Carl Froch versus George Groves first fight, and even elements of the second fight. He snaps Carl Froch's head back so many times. Watch Carl Froch's jab, watch George Groves' jab. That's how good George Groves' jab is. He's now a world champion, obviously beat Fedor Chudinov, so it was almost 4th time lucky for him. He's out in Jamie Cox's nest in the WBSS. I think he'll win that tournament. I think he's better than Chris Eubank Jr. and I think he's better than Cannon Smith, a lot better than Cannon Smith. So I think George Groves is on somewhat of a comeback. I never thought that he needed to. Obviously he changed trainers, he's now with Shane McGuigan. I think they're doing really good things together. And I think so far so good. I think he's looked good in his performances since he lost to Badou Jack. So he's now my number 5. My number 4 is a guy that I think just gets zero recognition. I mean 0 recognition. A guy that's not lost since 2009. 2009, people. Lee Selby, the Welsh Mayweather, I think is probably the best boxer in Britain. In terms of his style, the fluidity, how he moves around the ring, how he makes difficult things look really, really easy. It is just testament to how good he was. Let's not forget as well, this is a guy that beat Victor Barros a few days after his mother passed away recently. He is a fantastic boxer. He's the current IBF featherweight champion as well. There is talks about him possibly fighting Carl Frampton in a big, big super fight. I think he beats Frampton. I really do think he beats Frampton. I think sometimes they say styles just make fights, and I think his style for Carl Frampton could be very, very awkward. Number 3, the big man, Anthony Joshua. some people might think he should be higher. I don't really understand your thinking, but I can understand why some people might say that. Look, he's been a big breath of fresh air, not just to boxing, but to sport and to sport worldwide. And Joshua is a superstar, a superstar. People might say he's had it easy. I disagree. I think having to get up off your ass against Vladimir Klitschko in front of 90,000 in your hometown and win a world title that way, forget Charles Martin one, I don't really count that. But to do what he done against Vladimir Klitschko shows that this is the man that can get through has a bit of vulnerability, can get through tough times, adversity, and still come on top. He might need that. He might need to show all those skills. When you look at what's lined up, Luis Ortiz, Kubrat Pulev, Deontay Wilder, all those people are going to test him. We'll probably see the best Anthony Joshua in the next couple of years. But for now, I think we've seen enough to know that this is a true world champion. This is a guy that will be, I won't say great yet, but a very, very good heavyweight boxer. And look, he's knocked out every single person he's fought. Can't do better than that. Number 2 on my list, I was struggling between number 2 and number 1. I mean, I was almost like juggling. I couldn't pick. It was very, very difficult. But I went for James DeGale. James DeGale is probably one of the most underappreciated world champions that Britain's had for a long time. Seriously, a long time. If he was American, he would be so appreciated. He talks well, he's arrogant, he's a bit cocky, fights well, gets entertaining scraps, and yet I still feel like he's not appreciated by the British public. He almost reminds me a bit of Carl Froch. When Carl Froch was coming through, and Carl Froch had to do it on the road as well, because he wasn't really a big ticket seller. It's hard to believe that right before, but Carl Froch wasn't a really big ticket seller before. So he kind of done it tough on the road as well, and I feel like James DeGale is that person. Almost mimic each other. When you think of some of the big fights that have all been away from home, I mean, Andre Dirrell, huge fight. I think, do people give him credit for beating Andre Dirrell? It's a huge win. Badu Jack, a draw. If he just survived the last couple of rounds, he would have won that fight. Lucia Mbute, Brandon Gonzalez, remember that Wembley Stadium, that was a good win as well. He is a very, very good fighter. The only blemish on his record is George Groves. That was a very, very close fight. Could have gone either way, could have been a draw. That's the only blemish on his record. He is a good fighter. I'm not quite sure what he does right now. He's out injured. It would have been nice for him to be in a WBSS. I think he could jump up to light heavyweight as well. And if he does, obviously the fights against Andre Ward, Kovalev, huge fight. Number 1, the Jackal, Carl Frampton. Again, could have been number 2, but he's my number 1. I really do like Carl Frampton. This is a guy that's beaten every single person he's fought, which is saying something. He only lost to Leo Santa Cruz recently. Again, that was away from home. Another fighter that's not really getting the big fights at home. He's having to travel. Let's not forget, I know Scott Quigg in Manchester's not exactly travelling, but again, that wasn't in his backyard. He made it his backyard, beat Scott Quigg there, beat him. It was a split, let's be honest, he won that fight convincingly. He's had good wins against Kiko Martinez, Avalos, beat Santa Cruz. He is a very, very good fighter. I don't know if the best years are behind him, and that's silly to say, but I'm not quite sure. He struggled to make weight against Gutierrez, and he's already small for me as a featherweight. So I'm not sure. He's fighting, possibly fighting Lee Selby next. I think Lee Selby does beat him. And if he does, 2 losses back to back, I'm not sure. But for me, he's my number 1 pound for pound fighter in Britain right now. It wasn't easy, a bit random. Waffled on a bit there, didn't I? But that's my list. You could shuffle a few of those around. James DeGale, Frampton maybe. Flanagan, but Yafai maybe. I don't know. But those are my top 10. I'm trying to think of who could squeeze in there. Crawler, possibly. That's it for me. Eubank, some people might have Eubank above the likes of Flanagan, I'm not sure. But leave your top 10, let me know what you think. Peace.